Hi, I'm Colin and welcome to How to Paint Watercolours. So if you're ready, we'll get started and we'll paint this one. Hello YouTubers, and welcome back to my channel, How to Paint Watercolours with me, Colin. I'm going to give you a quick run round of the colours we're using today. Naples Yellow, Cobalt Blue, Ultramarine, Crimson Lake, Burnt Umber, Raw Umber, Yellow Green and Permanent Yellow Light. Now these are all Mission Gold colours as I'm trying to get used to them, and I've just stretched my paper and I've left a thin film of water on it. This is a mountain scene, trees, lakes. It's an autumn scene. It was a very complicated photograph, so we're going to simplify it a little bit because the sky was exceedingly difficult for a watercolour. I'm going to drop some Naples Yellow in here, bring it across the mountain. Now Mission Gold, they use alternative pigments, so some of the colours are not quite what you'd expect, but that doesn't matter, it's all an experiment. Bit of permanent yellow light going around there. And then also into these mountains I want to drop some Crimson Lake. Quite pale, so I'm using a wet brush just to drag this around a bit, create some different hues and colours. Just a little around the yellow, as we'll be dropping blue in, and a green sky can really put you off. Now Cobalt Blue, but this is the Mission Gold Cobalt Blue, and you'll see it's slightly different shade. If you're not using Mission Gold paints, it doesn't matter, just use Cobalt Blue. Let's get the right one, a bit more over here. French Ultramarine in the top. Let's bring these colours together. These are just the initial washes. And we'll bring something into the water. Naples Yellow, Permanent Yellow Light, a little touch of the crimson over here, Cobalt Blue, French Ultramarine. Maybe just a little more of that there. Just bring that together. Then I'm going to take some of the French Ultramarine with some of the Crimson Lake. Tiny bit of burnt sienna. I want some clouds to come off this, but I'm just putting the shadow side in. Taking a kitchen roll, damp, and I'm just going to lift out the tops of these. Just to create some movement in the sky. I also want to put some Naples Yellow along the edges of these trees with a touch of the yellow green. Because say this is just the underwash. Some of these I want to add a little bit of crimson into for an autumn colour. Just a mixture of colours. A little bit of permanent yellow light. As the light's coming through here, it'll catch the top of these, so some permanent yellow lights on these, just on the tips. Touch of the Crimson Lake with a tiny touch of Raw Umber. I'm going to add some permanent yellow to that purple, and with them being opposites on the colour, it will, on the colour wheel, it will grey that yellow out. I'll put this back meadow in, maybe streak a little in there as well, taking it up through the trees. I also use a kitchen towel, and I'm going to let that dry. I'm just going to take some clean water and I'm going to re-wet this background mountain. I'm going to take a little bit of the Crimson Lake French Ultramarine, and grey it with a bit of Burnt Umber, a little bit blue here. Now the makers say about Mission Gold paints is that they don't fade a great deal, so you have to bear that in mind. I'm not sure if I told you, this is a £140 knot watercolour paper from Winsor & Newton, and the knot just means it is not rough and it is not smooth. Just pulling that down, making it really pale. To blue it a tiny bit more. Just add a little shadow side to some of this, but not much. Just gives it variation without too much detail. The board is set at an angle, so it will drift down, is my hope, into almost nothing, which is what I'm looking for. I'll come to this mountain here and re-wet this one. Take some of the same colour. Start at the top edge and allow this to come down. And I don't mind if it merges with this one a little bit, because we can fade that out. Pull it down in the direction that the mountain is flowing. A little bit more burnt umber into that with a little more ultramarine. And I don't want to pull it too far down because I want to pale that off as well. Just by lifting a little paint out. Softening that outer edge. Going to your two main mountains. I have simplified the mountains a great deal. This will just make it easier for anybody who wants to have a go at painting this. You don't have to use the colours I'm using, you could use your own. Back to the purple once again. Slightly stronger. Creating some interesting shapes on this. I want it weaker in this part here as the sun's coming through, so I'm going to make it slightly strong on this side. I want to allow some of the wash to show through, but if it does disappear it doesn't really matter, but we'll try and save some. Take the hard edge out of that. Mop up the bottom, take the excess water off, then you're going to leave that to dry. Okay, that's dry. I'm going to get some clean water again, and I'm going to wet where these line of pine trees are, evergreens, fir trees, whatever you want to call them. Same on here, and I'm just undulating it. There's one thing to say about these Mission Gold paints is their colours. Their pigments are really intense. So I'm just going to strengthen this up again. I'm going to take a Deerfoot stippler brush. And we're just going to see. This just helps to put the tops on, and as you drop it into the water, it should start to drift downwards. I've often said that sometimes a watercolour is a bit like layering a cake, one layer after another to create the effect that you're looking for. I'm just using the edge of the brush, not the full brush, just the edge. I'm starting at the top and then allowing this to come down into the water. You have plenty of time to do this. The paper will remain wet for quite some time. Then on this side here I just want to wash it out just to help create some mist. A little stronger colour, French ultramarine, burnt umber, and crimson lake. And I'm just dropping this in and it's just adding some variation to it. Once again, just swirling the bottom up and allowing it to drift down. I want to mix up some yellow into this to create quite a murky, earthy green colour. That's the permanent yellow mixed in with your other colour. Take the edge of the brush again. Maybe there's a couple of bushes in here. Very pale. I'm leaving gaps between them in case they spread, which they of course will do. I'm going to add a bit more blue to that and make it darker. Not by much, just enough to change it a little. Just drop that in for a little bit of variation as well. Be careful with greens sometimes, because they contain the yellow, they can bring it quite far forward. Adding a little colour along the bottom. Then you have to leave that to dry. Now that that's dry, we're going to come to this meadow at the back here, and I'm just going to add some water in again. Take some of the French ultramarine into here again, some of the permanent yellow light, just darken that slightly. Lighter on the top. I'm just going to shoot some yellow into this. This will bring it forward. Bring it down to the shoreline. I'll take some burnt umber French ultramarine, or burnt umber and ultramarine as this one's called, along the bottom, and drop a little shoreline in. Darkens one or two areas so that it's not a solid line. Then we're going to let that dry.